Hey guys, tonight we are going on a journey, a grand, impossible journey that starts with a single seed and ends in a world transformed. Settle in, find a comfortable place, and close your eyes if you feel safe doing so. Imagine the softest pillow, the quietest room, and a gentle breeze rustling through leaves you haven't even seen yet. Tonight, we're going to plant 1,000,000,000,000 trees. Not one or two, not a million, but a full trillion scattered across the Earth's vast waiting canvas. A number so large, it's almost meaningless, a number that our minds can barely grasp. A number that if you truly tried to plant them all by yourself, you would almost certainly not survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd like you to do me one more small favor. As you lie there, I want you to feel the space around you. Where are you right now? What time is it in that place at this very moment? Let those details settle into your mind, a small anchor for a very big story. And so we begin. The story of 1,000,000,000,000 trees doesn't start with a seedling. It begins with the soil, or rather, the lack of it. It starts with the barren sun-scorched plains, the deserts that have forgotten the touch of rain, the fields plowed into dust by generations of hands. The seeds, an unimaginable number of them, are scattered by machine and by hand, by drone, and by wind. They are carried in the beaks of birds, in the fur of passing animals. They are a silent, unceasing rain of potential falling on every continent, save for Antarctica. This initial act is not one of gentle gardening, but of magnificent, chaotic brute force. The soil, compacted and tired, is suddenly asked to awaken, to hold, to nurture. And for a time it resists. It's a slow, stubborn awakening. Many seeds fail. Of the trillions, countless trillions dry up, are eaten, are washed away. This is the first great sifting. But enough remain. A few then, hundreds then, thousands then, millions begin to stir. A tiny crack appears in a hard shell. A root, a single determined thread, pushes down into the darkness. A pale green shoot, fragile as a whisper, reaches for the light. This is where the first true magic happens, the moment when dormant life answers the call of the sun. The process, of course, has a name. It's called photosynthesis. It is the single most fundamental process for nearly all life on Earth. It is the core concept of this entire story, the first great mystery we will unravel. On a purely scientific level, photosynthesis is the process by which plants, algae, and some bacteria convert light energy into chemical energy. It is, in essence, the act of a living thing drinking sunlight. But to call it just drinking feels too simple. It's more like weaving. Imagine a plant as a living loom. The sun provides the threads of light, photons, tiny packets of energy, and the plant's leaves, its chlorophyll-rich looms, begin to weave them. They pull in carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil, the raw materials of their craft. And with the sun's energy, they perform a kind of alchemy, transforming these simple ingredients into something else entirely, glucose or sugar. This sugar is the plant's food, its very lifeblood. The excess, the byproduct of this magnificent weaving, is oxygen. The air we breathe. Think of it this way: for billions of years, the Earth has been a grand silent theater. The sun is the star, the audience is the void, and the only actors are the single-celled organisms, the mosses, the ferns. And with photosynthesis, a play begins. The first act is the quiet, invisible conversion of light to energy. The second act, however, is a revelation. The byproduct, the waste product of this grand performance, is the very breath that allows for complex animal life for us. It's a curious paradox, isn't it? The very air that fills our lungs is a leftover, a generous gift from a world that had other intentions. It is a testament to the fact that even in the most seemingly wasteful processes of nature, there is profound, life-giving purpose. Now we see the first green shoots multiplying. The pale green is now a vibrant green, and in some places the first shade appears. These are not yet forests, but a green fuzz of vast living moss on the face of the planet. And as this green fuzz spreads, a small subtle truth begins to reveal itself. We often think of trees as simple silent beings, but there is a strange little-known scientific fact about them. They communicate. This is not some fanciful metaphorical idea. It's a chemical conversation. Through their roots, they send out signals. They can warn each other of insect attacks, sending out airborne chemical distress signals that tell neighboring trees to ramp up their defenses. This is a quiet alarm system, a network of whispers carried on the wind. The leaves, the bark, the very air around them is thick with these unseen messages. It's a kind of biological text message, a silent, fragrant gossip of the forest floor. So as our trillion tiny seedlings push up, they are not isolated. They are connected. They are already forming a great planetary nervous system. Each tiny plant is a single neuron firing off its first timid signals. The roots reach for each other, forming a vast subterranean web. They exchange nutrients, share water, and even recognize their own kin, helping them to thrive, while sometimes, surprisingly, being less generous to strangers. It raises a fascinating question, doesn't it? If a plant can recognize and favor its relatives, what does that say about the concept of family, of connection, of self? The truth is, we don't really know for sure. The inner life of a plant remains a great mystery, a world of perception and communication that we are only beginning to understand. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. For now, we are in the initial moments of this grand project. The first green blush is spreading. The first tiny leaves are unfurling, like hands reaching for the light. And as each leaf unfurls, the process of photosynthesis begins in earnest. The leaves are living laboratories. Inside each one, within tiny structures, called chloroplasts, a dance of light and water, and carbon is performed millions of times every second. It's a dance as ancient as life itself, a rhythmic pulsing act of creation that turns the inanimate into the animate. It's an almost magical act, and yet it is pure, elegant physics and chemistry. The chlorophyll molecule, with its beautiful symmetrical ring structure, is the key. It is the solar panel, the antenna, the grand conductor of this green orchestra. The scale of this event is what truly boggles the mind. We are used to seeing a single tree, a single forest. We can walk through it, touch its bark, feel its shadow. But a trillion trees, the very air around us would begin to feel different. It would become thicker with the smell of wet earth and growing things. The light would change, filtered through a haze of green. The sounds would shift, a constant low rustling. This is not a project of a single decade or a single generation. This is a commitment to a new world, a new geological age. And we are just at the very beginning, at the moment of the first tentative whispers. The silence of the desert is being slowly, steadily replaced by the soft, humid murmur of life. A new kind of quiet, a growing quiet, the kind of quiet that means something is happening, a slow, gentle transformation of the very fabric of our world. The first few seasons are the most perilous. Droughts can wipe out entire regions. Pests unaccustomed to such a dense food source can decimate vast swaths of the new growth. But nature, in its infinite wisdom and terrible patience, finds a way. New symbiotic relationships form. The soil, enriched by the first tiny roots, begins to hold more water. The young trees, now connected in their network, support each other, sharing resources through the fungal networks below the ground. This unseen world, the great silent engine beneath our feet, is as important as the majestic canopy above. We will explore this hidden world in a later section, this vast, living internet of the forest. For now, it is enough to know that beneath the surface, a new conversation is beginning, a slow, patient weaving of a new reality. The air itself is changing. A tiny, almost imperceptible amount of carbon dioxide is being drawn in. A tiny, almost imperceptible amount of oxygen is being released. But multiplied by a trillion, these tiny amounts become a profound fundamental shift. It's like a colossal sleeping giant taking its first few breaths. The first breath in is a whisper, a sigh. The first breath out is a gentle exhalation, a promise of a new, different kind of atmosphere. This is the first great consequence of our impossible act. It is the first hint of a world made anew, a world where the green things are not a backdrop, but the main event. The human element at this stage is almost forgotten. Our machines have done their work. Our hands have scattered the seeds. And now we simply watch. We observe the slow-motion miracle. We see the satellite images, the pale green spreading across the globe like a slow-moving stain. We feel the subtle shift in the wind, a new coolness, a new humidity. We are, for the moment, simply observers, witnesses to a change of our own making. But we are not yet a part of it. Not truly. We are still on the outside, looking in at the new world we have helped to create. And this is just the beginning of our journey. We have miles to go before we sleep. The world as we knew it is changing. The sun, our great celestial companion, still rises and sets, painting the sky with the same fiery hues of orange and gold. But the light that reaches the surface is no longer quite the same. It is now filtered through a colossal planet-spanning canopy. The trillions of new leaves, each a tiny living mirror, are now at work. And as they work, they begin to change one of the most fundamental characteristics of our world, its albedo. Albedo is a simple concept with a profound effect. It's a measure of how much light and heat a surface reflects back into space. Think of a pristine white snowfield on a winter day. It's brilliant, almost blinding, because it has a high albedo. It's reflecting most of the sun's energy away. A dark asphalt road on a hot summer afternoon, by contrast, has a low albedo. It absorbs the sun's energy, and you can feel the heat radiating from it. The asphalt gets hot, and so does the air above it. The Earth as a whole has its own average albedo. It's a complex patchwork of bright ice caps, dark oceans, and brown deserts. But with our new immense forest, we are fundamentally altering the pattern of this patchwork. The dark green of the new canopy has a much lower albedo than the barren ground it replaced. This means it absorbs more sunlight. At first, you might think this would make the planet hotter, and in a way it does locally. But the trees, in their wisdom, have a different plan. They are not just passive absorbers of light. They are active modulators of energy. They use a significant portion of the absorbed energy for photosynthesis, a process we have already begun to understand as the very engine of their existence. The rest of the energy is used for something else, something just as crucial, evapotranspiration. We'll get to that in a moment. The new forests are not a static blanket. They are a living, breathing tapestry that changes with the seasons and with the rhythm of the sun. The light that pierces the canopy is no longer direct and harsh. It is dappled and diffuse, a gentle mosaic of light and shadow dancing on the forest floor. It's a light that speaks of secrets and patience, a light that invites you to slow down and listen. This change in light isn't just aesthetic. It's a fundamental shift in the planet's energy budget. The forests act like a kind of global air conditioner, but instead of simply reflecting heat, they are processing it, transforming it, and redirecting it in a slow, elegant dance. Now let's look at the feedback loops, the intricate cause and effect relationships that begin to ripple through the system. We've replaced a high albedo desert with a low albedo forest. More solar energy is being absorbed. But here's the unexpected part, a subtle scientific detail that often goes unnoticed. The new forests create clouds. This is where evapotranspiration comes in. As the trees pull water from the soil through their roots, they release it as vapor through tiny pores in their leaves, a process akin to a gentle global sweat. This vapor rises, cools, and forms clouds. And clouds, unlike the dark canopy below, have a very high albedo. They reflect sunlight back into space. So here we have a beautiful self-regulating system. The new forests absorb more heat, but they also create a new veil of clouds that reflects even more heat away. It's a grand planetary thermostat, a subtle balancing act between absorption and reflection. We replaced a system that was reflecting light with a new system that absorbs light and then creates its own reflective shield. This is the kind of elegant counterintuitive logic that you find at the heart of so many natural processes. It's a solution that seems to have a kind of poetic and almost intentional wisdom to it. The Earth, in a sense, is dressing itself in a new kind of atmospheric garment, a flowing, shifting robe of cloud and forest. This brings to mind a strange scientific paradox that has long puzzled climatologists and physicists. We know that the Earth's climate is governed by a complex set of variables, but we still struggle to predict the precise, long-term effects of any single change. For instance, we know that dogs can dream often about their daily activities. Their brain waves while they are sleeping show patterns remarkably similar to our own REM sleep. It's a small, beautiful fact that reminds us that consciousness and experience in some form are not unique to us. But when we try to apply this kind of parallel understanding to the planet itself, we find the system is far too complex. We can know that a dog dreams of chasing a ball, but can a planet dream of a new kind of weather? Can it dream of a new kind of climate? The truth is, we don't have the language or the data to answer such a question. This raises an interesting question. If the planet has its own internal logic, its own feedback loops and self-regulating systems, what does that say about our role? Are we merely clumsy gardeners planting seeds in a way that we hope will be beneficial? Or are we in some strange way a part of the planet's own great slow-motion dream? The planet has always had a sense of albedo. It has a high albedo ice age and a low albedo warm period. The forests we have planted are a new phase, a new chapter in this long geological narrative. But is it a chapter we are writing, or one that the planet is simply allowing us to participate in? The air itself is getting cooler now, not just because of the cloud cover, but because of the work of the trees. The energy that would have heated the air is instead being used to evaporate water. It's an energy transfer, not an energy creation. Think of how a single bead of sweat on your skin cools you down. The water is taking the heat from your body and carrying it away as it evaporates. Now imagine this process happening on a planetary scale. 1 trillion trees, each one a tiny living air conditioner, are all working in concert, pulling heat from the surface and pushing it up into the atmosphere as moisture. The air, which once hung heavy and still over the barren land, is now alive with a gentle, humid coolness. The wind, too, is different. It is no longer just a great sweeping broom across a flat landscape. It is now a sculptor, a painter, a gentle hand moving through a new terrain of foliage. The rustling of 1 trillion leaves is a new sound, a perpetual whisper that speaks of life and growth. It's a sound that can, in a strange way, feel like a kind of comfort, a kind of constant low hum of a world that is healing itself. This sound is a testament to the fact that the wind is no longer just a current of air. It's now a living force, a partner in the great dance of evapotranspiration. It carries the moisture-laden air, the cool breath of the forests, to other parts of the world, spreading the new climate like a gentle contagion. The world is a tapestry, and we have just added a new thread, a thick, green living thread. It is a thread that is changing the color and the texture of the entire cloth. The old patterns, the stark brown of the desert, the brilliant white of the ice, are being slowly, steadily altered. We are watching the planet get a new skin, a new blanket, a blanket that is both absorbing and reflecting both warm and cool, both dark and bright. This new skin is not a static thing. It's alive, constantly shifting and adapting to the sun's gaze. We started this journey by imagining the chaos of the initial planting. We are now seeing the quiet, elegant order that is beginning to emerge. This is the great paradox of the natural world. From chaos comes order, from stillness comes motion, from a single seed comes an entire world. The forests are not just growing, They are weaving. They are weaving a new kind of light, a new kind of air, a new kind of quiet. And we, as observers, as participants, are invited to watch this great slow-motion performance. We are invited to lie back, close our eyes, and feel the gentle shift in the air, the quiet hum of a new world being born. The story is just beginning. The first green blush is now a verdant expanse, but what will this new world mean for the water, for the rivers and the oceans? How will the planet's great circulatory system respond to the new forests, to this new global heart? The answers are waiting hidden just beyond the tree line, in the quiet rushing sound of a new kind of rain. The air around you, once filled with the memory of dust and the heat of a bare sun, is now thick with a different scent, the soft perfume of damp earth and growing things. It is a scent that speaks of a profound and fundamental change, a change in the very atmosphere we breathe. We've seen how the new canopy is a living filter for sunlight, but its most important work is still being done in the silence between breaths. This work is a grand planetary conversation centered on the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle is the great invisible dance of life and death, of growth and decay. It is the journey of every carbon atom on our planet, from the air to the soil, to the plants and animals and back again. Our trillion new trees are not just participants in this dance. They are a colossal new partner, a great green vacuum for the carbon dioxide that has been building in the atmosphere. Every leaf, every needle, every blade of grass is now a tiny mouth, quietly breathing in the gas that we have exhaled for centuries. This is not a fast process. The atmosphere is a vast, invisible ocean, and the amount of carbon we have released into it is immense. But the collective effort of a trillion trees is a force of incredible, gentle power. Think of it like a colossal, invisible sponge. Slowly, steadily, the carbon dioxide is being pulled from the air and locked away. Where does it go? It becomes the very substance of the forest itself. The sturdy trunk of an oak, the delicate petals of a wildflower, the intricate web of a root system. They are all in a very real sense woven from the air. This is a beautiful and simple concept at its core, but it is one that we often forget. We see a tree and think of it as wood, as something solid, but a significant portion of its mass is carbon that was once floating invisibly in the air. The tree is in fact solidified sky. It's a remarkable transformation, a kind of magic that is so common, we have stopped seeing it for what it is. It raises a philosophical question. Can something be both a physical object and a temporary manifestation of the unseen? A tree is solid, yes, but its essence is also a captured fragment of a gaseous ocean. As this process continues, another less-known truth about trees begins to emerge. We have already talked about their quiet chemical conversations, but there is a deeper, stranger layer to this. A little-known fact is that some trees can release their own form of aspirin, a chemical called salicylic acid, to fend off pests or to signal distress. This is not a metaphor. The trees are not just passively absorbing carbon. They are active participants sending out chemical signals that are designed to interact with the world around them. When an insect begins to chew on a leaf, the tree can send out these signals, and nearby plants will ramp up their own defenses, producing bitter chemicals that make them less appealing to the pests. It's a collective defense, a kind of silent planetary immune system. This unseen communication network is now spreading across the globe, a vast, complex web of chemical whispers. The air is alive with these signals, a kind of biological static that we cannot hear, but that the living world can feel. It's a reminder that the world is far more interconnected than we can see. The health of a single tree in the Amazon is not just its own business. It is a part of a global biological conversation. As the carbon is absorbed, the air begins to change in other, more subtle ways. The very feel of it shifts. It becomes cleaner, crisper, and carries the faint, sweet scent of new growth. This is not just because of the reduction of carbon dioxide. The new forests are also filtering out other airborne pollutants, tiny particles and gases that are harmful to our health. The leaves act as tiny scrubbers, trapping these particles on their surfaces, where they are eventually washed away by the rain and absorbed into the soil. The atmosphere, which has been a kind of open sewer for our industrial past, is now being slowly, gently purified. It's a cleansing process that is happening on a colossal scale, an act of a living planet, tidying up after its children. And as the air becomes cleaner, the light itself seems to change. It becomes clearer, less hazy. The colors of the sunset become more vibrant, and the stars at night seem to burn with a newfound intensity. It's as if a great dusty window has been cleaned, revealing the true colors of the world once again. This brings us to a kind of unsolved mystery, a question that scientists still grapple with. We can measure the amount of carbon being absorbed. We can see the changes in the atmosphere. But what happens to the consciousness of a planet if such a thing exists when it is so fundamentally altered? We often talk about the Earth as a living organism. But what does that truly mean? Does a planet have a memory? Does it have a feeling? Does it remember a time when the air was different, when the light was harsher, when the ground was barren? We don't have a way to measure this, to even ask this question in a scientific way. It remains a mystery, a kind of philosophical echo in the vast silence of space. But we can see the physical results. The air is slowly being brought back into a state of balance. The great invisible pressure of climate change is beginning to ease. This is not a sudden dramatic victory. It is a slow, patient, and humble process. The trees are not shouting their triumph. They are simply doing what they do, one atom of carbon at a time, one breath at a time. It is a lesson in the power of patience, in the power of small, consistent actions that, when multiplied by 1,000,000,000,000, become an unstoppable force. So as you lie here, imagine the air around you. It is no longer just empty space. It is a living thing, a partner in a great planetary exchange. You are breathing in the oxygen that 1,000,000,000,000 trees are exhaling, and you are in a very real way connected to every one of them. You are part of the great silent dance of the carbon cycle. You are a small temporary part of this magnificent living tapestry. The air, which has always felt like an absence, now feels like a presence. It feels like a breath shared, a secret whispered from one living thing to another. The air has changed. But what about the water? The rivers and the oceans? The great flowing arteries of the planet? Are they also feeling the effects of this new green world? As the air becomes cleaner, as the carbon cycle finds a new equilibrium, the story moves on to the next great planetary system. It moves to the rhythm of the ocean tide and the slow, patient drip of the rain. The air is now a living breath, but the earth is also a world of water. The two are inseparably linked. The story of 1,000,000,000,000 trees is not just a story of the land and the sky. It is also a story of the seas and the rivers. The new vast canopy, with its intricate network of roots and leaves, is beginning to fundamentally alter the hydrological cycle, the great global journey of water. Think of the hydrological cycle as the planet's circulatory system. Water evaporates from the oceans, forms clouds, falls as rain or snow, and then flows back to the seas through rivers and underground aquifers. The old deserts and barren plains were like a clogged artery where water would simply evaporate back into the air or rush away in flash floods. But our new forests are a new kind of organ in this circulatory system. They are sponges and pumps and filters all at once. The deep roots of the trees hold the soil in place, preventing erosion. They act as a vast underground reservoir, soaking up rainfall and releasing it slowly and steadily, rather than allowing it to rush away. This slow release of water has a profound effect on the rivers. They become less prone to flash floods and more consistent in their flow. The rivers, which once swelled with a sudden violent anger after a storm, now run with a gentle, patient rhythm. The water is cleaner too because the tree roots and the soil they hold in place filter out sediments and pollutants. The rivers become clearer, and the life within them, the fish, the insects, the plants, begins to flourish in a new, healthier environment. But the most dramatic change is happening in the air above the forests. We have already talked about evapotranspiration, the the process of trees releasing water vapor. Now imagine this process multiplied by 1,000,000,000,000. The new forests are not just a green blanket. They are a vast planet-sized humidifier. The air above them becomes rich with moisture, and this moisture is carried by the wind to distant lands. This is a scientific fact that is often overlooked. Forests can create their own weather patterns. They act as biotic pumps, drawing moisture-laden air from the oceans inland, a process that can over time bring rain to once dry regions. This leads us to a beautiful, little-known scientific phenomenon. The Amazon rainforest, for instance, creates its own rivers of air, or flying rivers. These are colossal currents of moisture that travel thousands of miles and carry more water than the Amazon River itself. These flying rivers are what bring rain to the agricultural heartlands of South America. Without the rainforest, these regions would be a desert. Our new global forest is creating a similar system, but on a planetary scale. It is a new global circulatory system of moisture, a kind of atmospheric river that is rewriting the rules of rainfall and drought. The deserts of old are now feeling the first tentative drops of a new kind of rain, a rain that is not a punishment, but a gift. This all raises a curious philosophical question. If the trees are actively pumping water and creating weather, are they in some sense a part of the planet's consciousness? Are they making a choice? Of course, the scientist in me knows that this is a question of biology and physics, of the laws of thermodynamics and the movement of air. But the storyteller in me wonders. We are so used to thinking of ourselves as the only beings with agency, the only ones who can make a choice. But what if the trees are also making a choice, a grand collective decision to reshape the world in a way that is more hospitable to life? The truth is, we don't really know for sure. The inner workings of a planet are far more complex and mysterious than we can comprehend. The effects of this new hydrological cycle ripple all the way to the oceans. The rivers, now flowing with a steady, clean rhythm, are carrying less sediment and fewer pollutants into the seas. The coastal waters, which were once murky and choked with runoff, are becoming clearer. The coral reefs, which have been struggling under the weight of a changing climate and polluted waters, are now getting a small, much-needed reprieve. The life within the oceans, from the microscopic plankton to the great whales, is also beginning to feel the effects of a healthier, more balanced planet. The ocean itself is a vast, living tapestry, and the new rivers are a new kind of thread, weaving a cleaner, healthier story into its ancient fabric. The surface currents, which are driven by wind and temperature, are also being affected by the changes in atmospheric pressure and temperature caused by the new forests. It's a cascade effect, a domino chain of cause and effect that begins with a single seed and ends with a fundamental shift in the great global tides. So as you lie there, imagine the gentle rhythm of this new, water-rich world. The sound of rain is no longer just a sound. It's the sound of a living planet, a new breath being exhaled. The rush of a river is no longer just a rush. It's a slow, patient, and consistent heartbeat. The ocean, which has always been a place of mystery and wonder, is now a little clearer, a little healthier. You are a part of this story, a witness to this magnificent transformation. The water in your body is a part of this cycle, a small temporary fragment of the great global journey. You are a living river, a part of a flowing, patient, and profound world. And as the water of the planet finds a new balance, we are ready to go deeper beneath the surface, into the dark and mysterious world of the soil itself. We have seen the green canopy rise, the atmosphere change, and the water find a new rhythm. But the true foundation of this new world, its beating heart, is not in the rustling leaves or the flowing rivers. It is in the unseen, silent universe beneath our feet. This is the world of the soil, a place of profound complexity and ancient mystery. And it is here that we will explore the symphony of soil roots and time. Soil is not just dirt. It is a living, breathing entity, a teeming cosmos of microbes, fungi, insects, and roots. In a single teaspoon of healthy soil, there are more living organisms than there are people on Earth. This is the unseen workforce of our new planet, the architects of a future we have only just begun to imagine. The trillion trees are now sending their roots deep into this world, and as they do, they are creating a new kind of civilization, a symbiotic metropolis of life and decay. The roots are not just anchors, they are partners in a great underground exchange. They excrete sugars and other nutrients, feeding the vast communities of bacteria and fungi that live in the soil. In return, these microscopic allies help the roots to absorb water and minerals. This is a classic example of a mycorrhizal relationship, a scientific fact that we are only beginning to fully appreciate. The fungi, with their vast thread-like networks of mycelium, act as an extension of the tree's root system, reaching out and gathering nutrients that the tree could never access on its own. Think of it like this. The tree is the central hub of a great underground internet. The roots are the servers, and the fungal mycelium is the fiber optic network, a vast living web of communication and resource exchange that spans the entire forest. Information about pests, warnings of drought, and even the transfer of nutrients from one tree to another can all travel through this mycelial network. A mother tree can, for example, send nutrients to its seedlings through this network, a kind of biological life support system. This is a strange little-known scientific fact that challenges our very notion of what a plant is. It is not an individual. It is a node in a vast interconnected network. This raises an interesting question. If trees are so interconnected, so reliant on this great underground communication system, what does that say about the concept of individuality? Are they truly separate entities? Or are they in some strange way a part of a single colossal organism? The truth is, we don't have the philosophical or scientific language to truly answer this. It remains a mystery, a whisper in the dark, fertile earth. The soil itself is also changing. The continuous shedding of leaves and needles, the slow death of roots and branches is creating a new layer of organic matter, a kind of living mulch. This process, called decomposition, is the quiet engine of renewal. The bacteria and fungi break down this organic matter, returning its nutrients to the soil where they can be used by the next generation of plants. This is the great cycle of life and death, of creation and destruction, happening on a colossal scale. We are used to thinking of time in human terms, seconds, minutes, years. But the soil operates on a different clock. Its rhythms are slow, patient, and geological. The soil remembers. It holds the history of everything that has ever lived and died in that spot. Every fallen leaf, every buried seed, every forgotten bone becomes a part of its memory. And as our new forests grow, they are adding a new thick chapter to this memory, a chapter of a world reborn. The planet is not just getting greener, it is getting deeper. The new soil, rich and dark with organic matter, is absorbing more and more of the planet's carbon, a quiet, patient counter-narrative to the great historical release of carbon into the atmosphere. This is the Earth breathing in a deep, slow, and powerful inhalation that is drawing us back into balance. As you lie there, imagine this unseen world beneath you. Imagine the quiet hum of a trillion microbes, the slow, patient push of a billion roots, the vast, silent conversation of a great fungal network. You are not just lying on the ground. You are lying on a living, breathing tapestry of life, a place of ancient memory and future promise. You are part of this symphony, a gentle note in the great patient rhythm of the soil. The new world beneath our feet is a symphony of life, but the world above is a stage for a different kind of performance. The immense global forest is not just changing the planet, it is changing our local experience of it. It is creating a new kind of climate, a new kind of weather, but on a smaller, more intimate scale. This is the world of microclimates, the unseen architects of a new kind of atmosphere. A microclimate is, in essence, the climate of a very small area. Think of the shade under a single tree on a hot day. The temperature is lower, The humidity is higher, and the wind is a gentle whisper instead of a harsh gale. Now imagine this effect multiplied by 1,000,000,000,000. The new forests are creating a mosaic of these microclimates, a patchwork quilt of cooler, more humid air, which is fundamentally changing the way we experience our local environment. The sun's rays, which once baked the bare earth, are now intercepted by a colossal canopy. The energy that would have been absorbed by the soil and released as heat is now being used for two things: photosynthesis and evapotranspiration. This is the key. The trees are not just creating shade, they are creating a new local kind of air. The process of evapotranspiration, which we have already touched upon, is the heart of this change. The trees are pulling water from the soil and releasing it as vapor, a gentle, continuous sweat that is cooling the air around them. This cooling effect is not just a local phenomenon. The cool, moist air created by the forests is heavier than the hot, dry air of the surrounding areas. This creates a kind of pressure system, drawing in air from the surrounding regions and creating a gentle, continuous breeze. The forests are not just passively sitting there. They are actively shaping the air around them, creating their own local weather patterns. This leads us to a crucial scientific concept, the biotic pump hypothesis. This is a theory that suggests that forests can drive atmospheric circulation and create rainfall. It's a slightly controversial idea, but the evidence is mounting. The idea is that forests release massive amounts of water vapor, which then condenses to form clouds. As the water vapor condenses, it releases a great deal of energy, which creates a low-pressure zone. This low-pressure zone then pulls in more moist air from the oceans, creating a self-sustaining cycle of rainfall and growth. Think of it like a giant biological engine. The forests are the pump, the oceans are the reservoir, and the wind is the piston. This is a far more elegant and powerful system than a simple static forest. It's a dynamic living force that is actively shaping the planet's weather. It's a strange, little-known scientific fact that challenges our very notion of what a forest is. It is not just a collection of trees. It is a global engine of climate. This raises a fascinating question. If the forests are so powerful, so capable of shaping the planet's climate, what does that say about our own ability to do so? Are we, in some strange way, simply learning how to work with the planet rather than against it? The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The relationship between forests and climate is still a great unsolved mystery. We can see the effects, we can measure the changes, but the precise mechanisms are still being debated. It remains a kind of beautiful scientific puzzle, a riddle whispered on the wind. But we can see the results. The once scorched earth is now a place of cool shade and gentle breezes. The air, which once hung heavy with heat, is now alive with the scent of damp earth and growing things. The local temperature, which once swung wildly between the heat of the day and the cold of the night, is now more stable, more temperate. The new forests are a kind of living blanket, a gentle embrace that is moderating the planet's extremes. As you lie here, imagine this new world of microclimates. Imagine walking into a new forest and feeling the temperature drop, the air become more humid, the wind become a gentle caress. This is a world that is not just different. It is more hospitable, more temperate, more alive. The new forests are not just a change on a map. They are a change in our daily lives, a change in the very air we breathe and the sun we feel on our skin. We are just at the beginning of this new story, this new chapter in the life of a planet made new. The world has found a new balance. The climate is gentler, the air is purer, and the water flows with a patient rhythm. But a world is not just made of earth and water. It is made of life. And as the great green canopy spreads a new kind of silence, a new kind of hum begins to fill the air. This is the great migration, the slow, patient movement of countless creatures, and it is the quiet humming sound of a biosphere in flux. Animals, from the smallest insects to the largest mammals, are not just passive observers of this new world. They are its first citizens. The deserts that once offered only a temporary home for a few hardy creatures are now a highway for migration. The vast open plains, which were once a dangerous place for a small animal to cross, are now a safe haven of shade and food. The new forests are not just a place to live. They are a bridge, a continuous corridor that allows life to spread and flourish in a way it never could before. This is a story of adaptation and evolution on a timescale we can barely comprehend. Species that were once confined to small isolated pockets of the world are now expanding their territories. New symbiotic relationships are forming as plants and animals that have never met before are now forced to interact. The old food chains are being rewritten and new ones are being created. It is a biological revolution, a kind of grand planetary experiment. Think of the humble honeybee. Its numbers, which were once in decline, are now soaring. The new forests, with their vast array of wildflowers and flowering trees, are a paradise for pollinators. The honeybee, in turn, is now helping the forests to grow and spread a partnership that is as old as life itself. This is not a new concept, but the scale is unprecedented. A new global partnership is being forged, a grand humming symphony of life. This leads us to a strange and fascinating scientific fact about the nature of life itself. A little-known truth is that some species of birds, like the Arctic tern, travel from one end of the Earth to the other every year, a journey of over 49,000 miles. This is not just a migration. It is a profound, almost mystical journey that connects the two poles of our world. As our new forests create new flyways and new food sources, these migratory patterns are beginning to shift, to adapt, and to change. The birds are not just flying from one place to another. They are flying into a new future, a future of endless green. This raises a profound, unsolved mystery. We can track the migration of an individual bird with a satellite tag. We can see the patterns of their movement. But what drives them? Is it just instinct, a hardwired program in their brains? Or is there something more, a kind of collective consciousness, a shared memory of a place they have never been? The truth is, we don't really know for sure. The inner life of a migrating bird, the deep biological rhythm that drives it, remains a great mystery, a kind of silent planetary dream. The humming sound you hear is not just the sound of a billion bees. It is the sound of a trillion insects, 1,000 different species of birds, and 1,000,000 different kinds of animals, all living in concert. It is the sound of a world that is no longer a silent, empty stage, but a vibrant, humming metropolis of life. The sound is a kind of reassurance, a kind of promise that life in its infinite wisdom and terrible patience will always find a way. As you lie here, imagine this great migration. Imagine the silent, patient movement of the animals. Imagine the birds flying overhead, their wings beating in a new kind of rhythm. Imagine the insects, the frogs, the deer, all moving in a slow, continuous dance of life. You are a part of this dance, a witness to this magnificent slow-motion ballet. The humming you hear is the sound of a world that is not just living, but thriving. And as the planet finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go deeper into the very building blocks of life itself. We have seen the forests rise, the atmosphere change, the water flow, and the animals migrate. We have looked at the world from a planetary scale down to the silent hum of a new biosphere. Now let's go deeper still into the very heart of the matter, into the quiet inner life of a single leaf. Here in this tiny living laboratory, we will find a world of profound mystery and breathtaking elegance, the quantum forest and the dance of light. At its most fundamental level, photosynthesis is not just a chemical reaction. It's a quantum event. Within the chloroplasts of a single leaf, the process of absorbing light is governed by the strange and counterintuitive laws of quantum mechanics. A photon of sunlight, a tiny packet of energy, strikes a molecule of chlorophyll. The energy from that photon is then transferred to an electron, which is then moved along a chain of molecules. But the path of that energy is not a simple linear one. It's a quantum dance. Think of it this way. Instead of a single billiard ball hitting another in a straight line, the energy from the photon is more like a wave. It can be in multiple places at once, exploring all possible paths to its destination simultaneously. This is the heart of quantum superposition, a core concept of quantum mechanics. The plant is in a sense a quantum computer, using these strange subatomic rules to find the most efficient path for the energy to travel. It's a kind of biological hack, an ancient elegant solution to a problem that our greatest physicists are still trying to solve. This quantum efficiency is a strange, little-known scientific fact that we are only beginning to fully appreciate. The energy from the photon is moved from molecule to molecule with nearly 100% efficiency, with almost no energy lost as heat. If our solar panels were this efficient, our energy problems would be solved. The plant, in its quiet wisdom, has found a way to harness the weirdness of the quantum world for its own benefit. This raises a fascinating and profound question. Is the universe itself a kind of quantum computer, a vast interconnected network of information and energy? And are we in some strange way a part of that computation? The truth is, we don't have an answer. The relationship between quantum mechanics and the biological world is one of the great unsolved mysteries of our time. We can see the effects, we can measure the efficiency, but the why and the how remain a kind of beautiful scientific riddle. It is a whisper from the subatomic world, a kind of silent song that we can only hear the echoes of. As the sun's light filters through the vast new canopy, it is not just a single harsh beam. It is a diffuse, gentle shower of photons, each one a tiny living spark. And each spark is being caught, absorbed, and transformed by the quiet quantum engines of a trillion leaves. The light that reaches the forest floor is no longer just light. It is a living thing, a kind of physical memory of its journey through the quantum world. As you lie here, imagine this world. Close your eyes and picture a single leaf, a single chlorophyll molecule, a single electron dancing between worlds. Imagine the sun's light, a gentle, continuous stream of quantum information being absorbed and transformed. This is not a world of solid, predictable things. It is a world of possibility and potential, a world of subatomic chaos, tamed by the quiet, patient wisdom of a living leaf. You are a part of this world, a witness to a symphony of light and life that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. And as the quantum forest dances, we are ready to go even deeper into the great silent internet beneath our feet. We've delved into the subatomic dance of light within a single leaf, a world of quantum mystery and elegant efficiency. But the grandest conversation of our new world isn't happening in the air or in the light. It's happening beneath our feet in the great silent subterranean realm. This is the unseen living architecture of the forest, the world of fungi and mycelial networks, a world we can think of as the unseen architects of a new climate. The roots of our trillion trees are not isolated individuals. They are part of a vast interconnected network, a kind of biological internet that spans the entire forest floor. The architects of this network are the fungi. These organisms, with their vast, intricate web of thread-like filaments, called mycelium, form a symbiotic partnership with the tree roots, a relationship known as a mycorrhizal relationship. This is a scientific fact we are only just beginning to truly understand. Think of it this way. The tree roots are like the main terminals of a computer network. The mycelium is the fiber optic cable, the vast, intricate network that connects all the terminals. The fungi, in their tireless work, are able to break down nutrients in the soil that the trees cannot access on their own. They can transport water from areas of plenty to areas of drought. They can even act as a communication network, a kind of biological text message service that allows trees to warn each other of pest attacks or other dangers. This is a strange and beautiful world, a world of whispers and shared resources. A mother tree can send nutrients to its struggling seedlings through this network. A dying tree can offload its remaining carbon and nutrients to its neighbors, ensuring that its legacy continues. This is not a metaphor. This is a scientific reality that has been proven time and time again. This vast living network is a kind of collective consciousness, a shared reality that challenges our very notion of what a forest is. It is not a collection of individuals. It is a single vast and interconnected organism. This leads us to a truly fascinating scientific discovery. Scientists have found that trees can recognize their own kin and give them preferential treatment. In a forest, a mother tree will send more nutrients to its own seedlings, helping them to grow and thrive. This is a kind of biological family, a shared history, and a shared future that is woven into the very fabric of the soil. This is a strange and beautiful fact that challenges our very notion of what a family is. It is a reminder that the bonds of kinship are not just a human phenomenon. They are a deep biological reality that extends to the silent, patient world of the trees. This raises a profound and unsolved mystery. We can see the transfer of nutrients. We can measure the signals. But how do the trees know who their kin are? What is the mechanism of this recognition? Is it a chemical signal, a kind of genetic barcode that they can read? Or is it something more, a kind of shared memory, a kind of collective consciousness that exists on a scale we cannot comprehend? The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. It remains a mystery, a whisper in the dark, fertile earth. The mycelial network is also the great decomposer, the tireless worker that breaks down dead organic matter and returns its nutrients to the soil. As our new forests grow and die, this network is working overtime, creating a new layer of rich, fertile soil. This is the great cycle of life and death, of creation and destruction, happening on a colossal scale. The fungi are the quiet, unseen architects of this cycle, the silent hands that are rebuilding the world from the ground up. As you lie there, imagine this unseen world beneath you. Imagine the quiet hum of 1 trillion microbes, the slow, patient push of 1 billion roots, the vast, silent conversation of a great fungal network. You are not just lying on the ground. You are lying on a living, breathing tapestry of life, a place of ancient memory and future promise. You are a part of this symphony, a gentle note in the great patient rhythm of the soil. And as the planet finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go deeper still into the vast cosmic story of our world. The world beneath our feet is a living memory, but the world on a planetary scale has a memory of a different kind, a slow, patient, and geological memory. We have seen the effects of our trillion trees on the atmosphere, the water, and the soil. But what about the great planetary forces that shape our world on a timescale of millennia? What about the polar ice caps, the great frozen archives of our planet's history? This is the story of the ghost of ice and a living clock. The Earth's climate is not a static thing. It is a slow, rhythmic dance between periods of warmth and periods of cold, between interglacial periods and ice ages. These cycles are driven by a complex set of astronomical factors, primarily the subtle, long-term changes in the Earth's orbit and its axial tilt. These are the Milankovitch cycles, a little-known scientific fact that explains the great slow rhythm of our planet's climate. Think of the Earth as a spinning top, but a very wobbly one. The wobble of this top, its tilt, and the shape of its orbit all change over tens of thousands of years. These subtle changes alter the amount of solar radiation that reaches the Earth, particularly in the northern hemisphere, which in turn can trigger the advance or retreat of the great ice sheets. The ice sheets, with their high albedo, reflect sunlight back into space, which can cool the planet and cause the ice to advance even further, a kind of self-sustaining feedback loop. Our new global forest, with its low albedo and its high rate of evapotranspiration, is now a powerful new factor in this equation. By absorbing more sunlight and creating a new veil of clouds, it is fundamentally altering the planet's energy budget. The new forests are, in a sense, a great green counterforce to the ghost of ice. They are a kind of living blanket that is moderating the planet's extremes, a gentle hand that is pushing back against the slow, inevitable rhythm of the ice ages. This is not a fast process. The great geological clock of our planet runs on a timescale we can barely comprehend. The ice caps, with their vast silent bulk, are slow to respond, but they are responding. The melting, which was once a catastrophic, unstoppable process, is now beginning to slow. The ice is not just a ghost of the past. It is a living memory of our planet's history, a silent archive of a world that was. And as it stabilizes, it is a kind of promise of a new future. This brings us to a profound, unsolved mystery. We can measure the changes in the ice. We can see the effects of the new forests. But what is the relationship between the two? Is our planting of 1 trillion trees simply an accelerating of a natural process? Or is it a fundamental change in the planet's trajectory? Are we, in a strange way, a part of the planet's own great slow-motion dream? The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The relationship between human activity and the great geological forces of our planet is one of the most complex and beautiful mysteries of our time. As you lie there, imagine this world. Imagine the slow, patient rhythm of the Earth's orbit, the gentle wobble of its axis. Imagine the vast, silent bulk of the polar ice caps the ghost of ice that haunts our planet's past and future. And imagine the new green world, a living, breathing blanket that is moderating the planet's extremes, a gentle hand that is rewriting the great slow story of our world. You are a part of this story, a witness to a symphony of life and time that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. And as the planet finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go even deeper into the heart of our own civilization. We have traveled through time from the quantum dance of a single leaf to the slow geological rhythm of our planet. We have seen the world change from the ground up to the great ghost-like ice caps. But what about us? What about the human story as the great green canopy spreads our own civilization is being fundamentally altered? This is the story of the City of Light and the Green Veil. Our cities, which were once islands of concrete and steel in a sea of barren land, are now being slowly, gently reclaimed. The new forests are not just growing around the cities. They are growing within them. The roots of the trees are pushing up through the asphalt. The seeds are finding purchase in the cracks of the concrete. The once stark gray world of our urban centers is being softened, and a new green kind of life is beginning to emerge. This is not a story of destruction. It is a story of transformation. The cities are not being abandoned. They are being reimagined. The urban heat island effect, a scientific fact that cities are significantly warmer than the surrounding rural areas, is now being moderated by the new green spaces. The air is cleaner, the sound is muffled, and the light is dappled and gentle. The city, which was once a place of harsh angles and bright lights, is now a place of soft shadows and quiet whispers. Think of an old abandoned railway line, now a green winding park. Now imagine this on a colossal scale. The roads are not just roads anymore. They are now corridors for wildlife. The buildings are not just buildings. They are now living habitats, covered in a new kind of ivy, a kind of green veil that is both beautiful and functional. The roofs, which were once a source of heat, are now a source of life, covered in a new kind of garden, a kind of green oasis in the sky. This leads us to a strange, little-known scientific fact about our own nervous system. The human brain, when exposed to natural environments, shows an increase in alpha waves, which are associated with a state of relaxed awareness. Our minds, which were once stressed and overstimulated by the noise and chaos of the city, are now finding a new kind of rhythm, a new kind of peace. The green world is not just a change on the map. It is a change in our own inner landscape. This raises a profound and unsolved mystery. If our brains are so attuned to the natural world, if we are so deeply connected to the rhythm of the trees and the sound of the wind, what does that say about the nature of our own consciousness? Are we simply a part of a larger planetary mind? The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The relationship between our minds and the world around us is one of the most beautiful and complex mysteries of all. The new city is a city of a different kind of light. The streetlights, which once burned with a harsh artificial glare, are now being replaced by a more gentle natural light. The light of the moon, which was once drowned out by the noise of the city, is now a gentle, silent presence. The stars, which were once a distant memory, are now a real living part of our world. The city of light is no longer just a metaphor. It is a reality. As you lie here, imagine this new world. Imagine walking through a city that is not a concrete jungle, but a living forest. Imagine the sound of the wind in the trees, the gentle scent of damp earth, the soft light of the moon on your face. You are a part of this story, a witness to a symphony of life and light that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. And as our own civilization finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go even deeper into the great silent language of our world. We have seen the cities of light and the green veil that now softens their edges. We have felt the change in our own minds as they find a new rhythm in this new world. But what about the inner life of the new world itself? What about the consciousness of the trees, the language of the forest? This is the story of a language without words, a deep and profound conversation that we are only just beginning to overhear. We have already touched on the chemical signals that trees use to communicate. We have seen how a mother tree can send nutrients to her seedlings. But is there more? Is there a kind of communication that goes beyond the simple exchange of chemicals? This is the world of plant neurobiology, a new and controversial field of science that is challenging our very notion of what a plant is. Think of a plant not as a passive, unthinking thing, but as a being with a kind of primitive intelligence. The plant, in its quiet wisdom, is able to sense its environment. It can sense the light, the water, the nutrients in the soil. It can even sense a predator, a hungry caterpillar, and it can respond by producing bitter chemicals to ward it off. This is not a metaphor. This is a scientific fact. This raises a profound and unsolved mystery. If a plant can sense its environment, if it can respond to it in a sophisticated and intelligent way, does it have a kind of consciousness? Does it have a kind of mind? The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The concept of consciousness is one of the great unsolved mysteries of our time. We can see the effects, we can measure the signals, but the why and the how remain a kind of beautiful scientific riddle. A strange little-known fact is that some plants can even remember. The Mimosa pudica, a plant with leaves that fold inward when touched, has been shown to remember and ignore repeated harmless stimuli, a process known as habituation. This is not a simple hardwired reflex. It is a form of learning, a kind of primitive memory that challenges our very notion of what a mind is. As you lie there, imagine this world. Imagine the quiet, patient intelligence of the trees. Imagine the silent language of the roots, the chemical whispers in the air, the vast interconnected network of the mycelium. This is not a silent world. It is a world of 1,000 different languages, a world of whispers and shouts of secrets and promises. You are a part of this story, a witness to a symphony of life and consciousness that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. And as the planet finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go even deeper into the great silent memory of our world. We have explored the new world from its quantum heart to its global mind, from the language of its forests to the dreams of its animals. But as the world changes, so too does our understanding of our own past. The Great Green Canopy is not just a change on the map. It is a change in the historical record. This is the story of the memory of stone and a future unwritten. The archaeological record, the great silent history of our civilization, is now being rewritten. The old forgotten ruins, which were once stark and bare on a barren landscape, are now being slowly, gently reclaimed by the forest. The stones of our ancient buildings are being covered in a new kind of ivy, a kind of green memory that is both beautiful and functional. The roots of the trees are pushing up through the old foundations, and a new kind of life is beginning to emerge from the wreckage of the past. This is a story of transformation, not of destruction. The memory of stone is not being erased. It is being integrated into a new living history. The ancient ruins, which were once a testament to the fragility of our civilization, are now a testament to the resilience of nature. They are a kind of living museum, a place where the past and the future are in a kind of gentle conversation. This leads us to a strange, little-known scientific fact about the nature of our own memory. Our brains, when recalling a memory, don't play it back like a video. Instead, they reconstruct it, reweaving the details each time, which can lead to inaccuracies and changes over time. Our past is not a fixed, immutable thing. It is a living, breathing tapestry that we are constantly reweaving. The same is true of the planet. The great geological memory of our world is not a fixed thing. It is a living, breathing tapestry that is being constantly rewoven by the silent, patient hand of nature. This raises a profound and unsolved mystery. If our memory is so fragile, so susceptible to change, what does that say about the nature of truth? Is there such a thing as a single objective truth? Or is truth a kind of living, breathing thing that is constantly in flux? The truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The relationship between our own memory and the great planetary memory of our world is one of the most beautiful and complex mysteries of all. As the new forests grow, they are not just rewriting the archaeological record. They are rewriting our own history. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are and where we came from are now being filtered through a new green lens. The story of a civilization that was once a conqueror of nature is now a story of a civilization that is a partner in a great planetary project. The memory of stone is not a ghost of the past. It is a living, breathing part of a future unwritten. As you lie there, imagine this world. Imagine a silent, ancient ruin, now covered in a new kind of ivy, a new kind of life. Imagine the roots of the trees pushing up through the old foundations, a kind of living memory that is both beautiful and functional. You are a part of this story, a witness to a symphony of life and time that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. And as the planet finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go even deeper into the great silent heart of our own consciousness. The world has changed. The memory of stone is now a living part of the forest, and our own history is being rewoven by the patient hand of nature. We have traveled from the subatomic to the geological, from the city to the soil. But as we reach the end of our journey, there is one last place to go inward. We must now turn our gaze to the most profound mystery of all the mystery of consciousness and ask a final question. What does a trillion trees mean for the very nature of reality? This is the story of a dream within a dream. As the new world emerges, a world where the green things are not a backdrop, but the main event, our own perception of reality, is also being fundamentally altered. We are so used to thinking of ourselves as the center of the universe, the only beings with a conscious mind. But what if that is not the case? What if the universe is a kind of great living mind, and we are just a small temporary part of its dream? This is a profound philosophical question that science can't answer. We can measure the brainwaves of a sleeping dog. We can see the learning and memory of a Mimosa pudica plant. But we cannot measure the consciousness of a planet. We cannot know what it is like to be a tree, to feel the sun, to drink the rain, to communicate through a vast underground network. We can only imagine. This is the great unsolved mystery of consciousness. A little-known scientific fact is that physicists still wonder if consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, like mass or charge. This is the idea of panpsychism, the belief that consciousness is not an emergent property of complex brains, but an intrinsic universal quality of all matter. It is a strange and beautiful idea, one that challenges our very notion of what a living thing is. If a single atom has a kind of proto-consciousness, a kind of silent internal life, then a trillion trees with their vast interconnected network would be a kind of collective superconsciousness. a planetary mind that is dreaming a new world into existence. We would not be the creators of this world. We would be a part of its dream. We would be a single fleeting thought in the mind of a colossal green giant. As you lie there, imagine this world. Imagine a world where the very atoms of the earth are alive with a kind of silent internal life. Imagine a world where the trees are not just plants, but living, breathing thoughts in the mind of a planetary consciousness. You are a part of this dream, a witness to a symphony of life and consciousness that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. And as the planet finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go even deeper into the great silent heart of our own consciousness. We have come to the end of our journey, a grand, impossible voyage from a single seed to a world transformed. We have felt the quiet hum of the new biosphere, the gentle rhythm of a new kind of water, and the profound silent language of a world remade. We have traveled through time from the quantum dance of a single leaf to the slow geological rhythm of our planet. We have seen the memory of stone become a living part of the forest, and our own history rewoven by the patient hand of nature. We have asked the great philosophical questions of consciousness and reality, and now we must bring our journey to a close by returning to the very beginning, to a single, quiet moment. This is the story of the last leaf, the final breath. The Grand Planetary Project is not a single dramatic event. It is a slow, patient, and continuous process. The trees are not just growing, they are living, and they are dying. The last leaf of a tree, a single delicate thing, is not a symbol of an ending. It is a symbol of a beginning. It is a symbol of the great cycle of life and death, of creation and destruction that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. The last leaf falls, and it is not a loss. It is a gift to the soil, a new source of life, a new beginning for the next generation of trees. This is the great elegant paradox of our new world. The more life there is, the more death there is. The more growth there is, the more decay there is. But the decay is not an ending. It is a transformation. The death of a single tree is not the end of a story. It is a new chapter in the great patient rhythm of the soil. The carbon that was once locked away in the trunk of a tree is now being released back into the soil, where it can be used by the next generation of life. The water that was once held in the roots is now being released back into the great global cycle. The death of one is the life of many. This is a profound philosophical truth that science can't fully explain. We can measure the carbon, we can measure the water, but we cannot measure the spirit of a tree. We cannot know what it is like to live for 100 years, to feel the sun, to drink the rain, and to finally give your life back to the earth. We can only imagine. This is the great unsolved mystery of life and death. A little-known scientific fact is that some trees, like the bristlecone pine, can live for thousands of years, a kind of living archive of our planet's history. These trees are not just a collection of cells. They are a kind of living memory, a slow, patient archive of a world that was. And as our new forests grow, they are a kind of new archive, a new living memory that is being created one leaf at a time. As you lie there, imagine this world. Imagine the last leaf of a tree, a single delicate thing, a whisper of a final goodbye. Imagine it falling to the ground, a slow, silent surrender. Imagine it becoming a part of the great living memory of the soil. You are a part of this story, a witness to a symphony of life and death that is happening on a scale we can barely comprehend. And as the planet finds a new rhythm, a new hum, we are ready to go even deeper into the great silent heart of our own consciousness. Our journey, my companion, has come to its gentle end. We've wandered through a world, reimagined a whisper of 1,000,000,000,000 trees turning into a great planetary breath. We've watched the ghost of ice retreat, the city soften, and the very air become a living thing, rich with the memory of light. We have seen how a single seed can contain the promise of an entire world, and how a single leaf can hold the secret of the cosmos. The hum you hear now is not just the sound of a biosphere in flux. It is the soft echo of a world finding its new equilibrium, a quiet, gentle rhythm that speaks of patience and resilience. I'd like to gently ask you one last time, where is the place you're staying now? The time in that place, at this very moment, how is it flowing? Does the quiet feel different now? Has the air become a little more alive, a little more present? Let your mind drift for a moment longer on the thought of a world made anew, a world where the quiet things are the most powerful. As the sun gently fades and the stars begin their slow emergence, I invite you to close your eyes to let go of the last threads of our story. You are a part of this magnificent living tapestry. The air in your lungs is the air of 1,000,000,000,000 trees. The water in your body is the water of a new kind of river. Your existence is woven into the very fabric of this new, gentle world. Sleep well, my companion, wherever and whenever you are. May the rustling of 1,000,000,000,000,000 leaves be the gentle lullaby that carries you into the softest of dreams.